What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 269 of Hashtag AskGSM here today for January 23rd, 2019. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. Mere days ahead of Royal Rumble weekend, one of the most exciting times of the year for wrestling fans, and I can't fucking wait. Having been at the Rumble last year, which was one of the best wrestling weekends of my life. Got to give credit to Mr. Marceau for pitching the idea of us going to both Rumble and TakeOver mere weeks ahead of TakeOver. We were like, why don't we just go to TakeOver too? So we went to TakeOver Philadelphia. We went to the Rumble. It was an amazing weekend. We got there, afternoon on Saturday, left right after the Rumble, came back at 3 o'clock a.m. on Monday morning at my place in Connecticut. So it was a crazy ride, fun times. Can't wait to do it all over again for WrestleMania weekend coming up in a few short months. And how bullshit is it that they have the Royal Rumble fan access this year? They didn't have it last year, though, and they've had it before, too. I know they had it a few years ago, at least dating back to 2013, 2012. Around that time, they did away with it. And, of course, the exact 1 year after I go to Rumble weekend, they bring it back. So, what the hell? But hopefully I can catch up with WrestleMania fan access in a few short months. But nonetheless, guys, this is Hashtag AskGSM. If you want to send in a question, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/gram.gsm.matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comments section of this very video. I'll include it in next week's edition. So let's get started here without further ado with All Heart PWG from YouTube's got 3 questions here. First one being, do you think that if Finn Balor wins the Universal Championship at the Royal Rumble, that Drew McIntyre will win the Rumble match, or maybe a SummerSlam 2016 rematch between Seth and Finn, or maybe another option? The cool thing about Sunday's show is that there's a lot of options. I think there's only a few options that make actual sense, like a Finn and Seth match in the main event of WrestleMania. I don't think is going to happen. I don't think they woke up one day and said, oh, Finn Balor, he's a main event star. No, I think a real reason why they're doing this, a large part of the reason why they're doing this, is because AEW is now a thing, and they don't want Balor leaving. To me, he screams content with where he is. He's happy to be a part of WWE. I don't think he would leave anyway, but maybe they fear that he would leave. Henceforth, they're giving him the match with Brock at the Royal Rumble. Otherwise, why wouldn't they have started pushing him years ago? I mean, I know they did. They promoted him like a big deal when he got called up in 2016, but that was 2.5 years ago. The guy has not really been involved at all in the World Championship picture since he came back from injury almost 2 years ago. So why now? It's because of AEW, I think. Putting that aside, I think I talked about that last week. If Balor was to beat Brock, which he won't, but never say never, it's wrestling. They can have whoever they want to win. They can come up with some contrived ending that sees Ryder become WWE champion if they want to. Of course, that's not happening. Neither is Balor becoming champion on Sunday. But if Balor was to win, what could they do? Balor and McIntyre, to me, doesn't really feel like a WrestleMania-worthy main event. I guess you could revisit Balor and Rollins. That would be awesome. Either option would be great. If for no other reason that it includes 2 current stars on the main roster. I think that's awesome, and both matches would be great. Balor and McIntyre, we haven't seen too much of. They had that really brief feud late last year. Balor beat McIntyre 1-on-1 at TLC. They have not had a singles match since then. That was their first and only singles match to date. Balor won that. So if McIntyre wins the Rumble, maybe he goes on to win the belt from Balor at WrestleMania. Again, that doesn't really feel like a WrestleMania-worthy feud. Even Balor and Rollins, we've been there before. They had their first feud a few years ago. Granted, that was back when Rollins was a heel, but they revisited that rivalry over the Intercontinental Championship about a year ago. They always have fucking, barn burner of matches. Their matches are always awesome, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they would actually go with that as a Universal Championship match at WrestleMania. Now, people are saying maybe he loses, he wins the Rumble, he goes to SmackDown. That would be cool. I think I talked about that here on the show before, a Balor and Bryan or a Balor and AJ match at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship. Sign me up. But I don't think we have yet to see anyone lose like a title match on a Royal Rumble pay-per-view, come back later on in the night, and then win the Rumble. I don't think we've ever seen that. I don't think Balor's beating Brock, and maybe with some assistance from Braun Strowman, I think that would be an amazing moment. I don't think it's happening. I think they've gotten this far with Brock and, Brock as Universal Champion. They're going to have him walk into WrestleMania as Universal Champion, which is very concerning to me. I think at this point what I would do, because it looks like they're not done with Brock and Braun. They're not going to finish that feud up at like the fucking Elimination Chamber or Fastlane pay-per-view. They're gonna revisit it at some point, or continue the feud, resume the rivalry at some point in the road to WrestleMania. If it wasn't at the Rumble, it's probably gonna be at WrestleMania. I would really hope that match would not be over the championship. I just cannot get behind the idea of Braun becoming champion at Mania. Maybe a year or two ago, at this point, I could not care less about seeing Braun beat Brock to become champion. I'm sure that's exactly where this is headed, and that's great for Braun, but the guy has cooled off significantly, and their matches have sucked. So I have no desire to see a Braun and Brock rematch, part 37, at WrestleMania. If they do it anyway, if it's a non-title match, maybe if it was like a 2-minute squash with this time Braun beating Brock in decisive, quick fashion. Other than that, I have no interest. If it's for the championship, I'd rather have the belt on the line in a match that I can get excited about. Not a match we've seen a million times. Granted, we've seen Balor and Rollins a bunch of times, but at least we know they work well together and they have awesome chemistry. But I don't think we have to worry about any of that because I don't think Balor is winning. I think Brock is retaining on Sunday and then going on to face, hopefully, Seth Rollins, maybe Drew McIntyre, definitely not Braun Strowman at WrestleMania. But I'm not, obviously, I'm not 100% confident in saying that just because anything can change. Rollins makes the most sense. Watch them swerve us with something completely dumb. His second question, do you think Kenny Omega would actually sign with Ring of Honor? I don't. Ring of Honor is not a bad option. I think if you said like Impact, I would say absolutely not. They have money, but not the amount of money that Omega is not like demanding, but that he's worth. Impact has had a lot of, good players like Austin Aries come in, Johnny Impact, Brian Cage. None of those guys are Kenny Omega. That's like if they brought back AJ Styles. After everything that he's done in WWE, his stock has skyrocketed. He is way more valuable than anything Impact could ever offer him. I know Chris Jericho almost went to Impact, he said about a year or so ago, and that's great, but he would have only been there temporarily. It's not like Kenny Omega where he'd be there full-time, not just as an attraction. Jericho, I would assume, would have been an attraction. He would not be in the fucking Impact Zone in Orlando every single week. Going back to the original point, Omega's done Ring of Honor before. He's made a few appearances with the company while he was with New Japan. If he's not going back to New Japan, which I think is the third option, I think it's AEW first, WWE second, New Japan third, / Ring of Honor. Because obviously if he went back to New Japan, he would be working with Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor has the money to offer him because they just gave up a lot of money with the Elite leaving, but that's my exact point. If Cody and the Bucks all left Ring of Honor, then why would Omega go there after they've already left? That would seem a little strange to me. Don't get me wrong, I think Ring of Honor is great. Ring of Honor is an amazing alternative to Impact, WWE, New Japan, blah, blah, blah. I thoroughly enjoy Ring of Honor, rather. But Ring of Honor, just him going there would make very little sense considering these three guys, that he calls friends, and Cody and the Young Bucks and Marty Scurll, who's still there, not for much longer. But considering they just left Ring of Honor, why would he go there? I think AEW is where it's at. They have the money behind them. They have the buzz. They have the momentum. All of his friends are there. He can be booked the way that he wants to be booked. Maybe not world champion for 10 years, but that would scream Hulk Hogan circa WCW in the fucking mid-90s to me. In the late 90s. But, I think he would have more creative control in AEW than he would in WWE, obviously. So I think Omega in Ring of Honor is a long shot, not going to happen. I think a WWE move is way more likely, but even that's a bit far-fetched at this point. I think Omega is AEW bound. All Heart BWG's third question here. Do you see Zack Ryder or Ty Dillinger getting a push this year? Dillinger, no. Maybe a push out the door. I think the guy is well on his way out of the company. I don't know. obviously they called him up because he had done really everything there was to do, or rather, let me rephrase that. He had lost to everyone there was to lose to in NXT before he left in 2017. He came up to SmackDown, he got a great reaction at the Rumble, he got a good reaction when he called up, and then nothing. The guy has not had a single feud on SmackDown in the last 2 years that he's been on the brand. The guy is the epitome of an enhancement talent. He's a good worker. I like Ty Dillinger, but the whole 10 thing, that wore out real quick. So I do not see him getting a push this year. Maybe to go to AEW. I've said this before. I think I wrote this in an article about a week ago that with Ty Dillinger, I think he'd be a great fit for AEW, and that, his good friend Cody runs the promotion. Cody obviously thinks very highly of Ty Dillinger. He has for many, many years now. I think it'd be a great fit for All Elite Wrestling if he was to leave WWE in 2019. Zack Ryder, I'm still going to say no to that too, but if you call reuniting with Kurt Hawkins a push, then yeah, I guess. I think it's awesome. I'll talk more about Hawkins and Ryder in a minute. But I think Zack Ryder getting like a singles push, or, maybe they could become tag team champions. We'll see. I think it might be more along the lines of I know the primetime players, reunited a few years ago and they became tag team champions. I don't see that same thing happening with Ryder and Hawkins, but it's possible. I think it's more along the lines of, they're back together now. We can work them. We can have them work on main event together in tag team matches. I don't think they'll be a staple of the Raw tag team division anytime soon, if ever. I think they're just being brought back together to lose to other tag teams. But, again, Ryder has gotten more TV time recently than Ty Dillinger. So if I had to choose between the two, I think Ryder is more likely to receive a push, but even he's a bit of a long shot. Emmanuel A. from YouTube. I saw somebody make a comment about if we were to apply modifiers to WWE TV just to see what the writers would have to come up with, and it gave me an idea. Seeing as we are the authority after all, emphasis on the we, which modifier would you like to see be enforced in WWE for a whole month? Number 1, a promo segment cannot go past 10 minutes. Number 2, wrestlers cannot face anybody they've wrestled in the past 4 months. 3, matches can only be booked once on TV/pay-per-view. 4, matches cannot end in DQ, countout, no contest, or roll-up. And 5, matches and promo segments cannot be interrupted by anybody. So, I know these are all problems with the current product. Some of these things, though, are necessary. I do agree with the whole, the interruption thing that happens a lot. Sometimes it's necessary. The DQ, countout, no contest thing. WWE goes to that way too often. Way more often than they should. But sometimes it's necessary. I know Lucha Underground went a while without ever doing a DQ finish. Ring of Honor rarely does DQ finishes or countout finishes. But you have to do them sometimes. You can't just bar them all together. Maybe for a month, like you said. But I think in some circumstances they're necessary. Again, maybe not one in every fucking show. Like on every episode of Raw or SmackDown, I feel like I see 1 or 2 DQs and countouts, which is unacceptable. But sometimes they're necessary. 2 and 3 with the wrestlers not facing anybody they've wrestled in the past 4 months. Again, sometimes, I completely agree. They do some matches way more often than they should. I feel like I've seen Elias and Corbin a million times, even though they've only had 2 matches in the last couple of weeks. But, Andrade and Rey have had 2 or 3 matches, and they've all been amazing. You can't go 4 or 5 months without having the same people face each other. I know NXT does a better job of that. Sometimes people will have 1 match, and you won't see that match again for a while, if ever. But it's an hour-long show. They have a smaller roster, so it's a little different. So I don't agree with that one. Yeah, in most circumstances, but if you want to have a rematch, what, are you going to wait 5 months to do it? I don't think so. And the matches can only be booked once on TV or pay-per-view. Again, also don't agree with that because, yeah, sometimes they revisit certain rivalries more often than they should. But there are certain circumstances where matches should be revisited because rematches are necessary. It's not a one-and-done type thing. I hate the 50-50 booking, but, certain matches deserve to be replayed again on back-to-back pay-per-views, which is why I'm going to go with number 1 here. If I had to apply one modifier of all the 5 that you mentioned, a promo segment cannot go past 10 minutes. That, to me, there's no circumstances. No promo should last 10 minutes. I don't care if it's CM Punk's pipe bomb, for God's sakes. No promo should last over 10 minutes. That's ridiculous. You can get whatever you want to say into a 5-minute segment. If not, 5 to 7 minutes. There is no reason for a talking segment to last that long. I don't care how many people are involved. No reason for it to go past 10 minutes on a wrestling show. I do not agree with that at all. Having them kick off the show is also a problem. But again, sometimes that's necessary. But I think what's not necessary, no matter what the circumstances are, is having a promo segment exceeding the 10-minute limit. So I would get rid of that in a heartbeat. Elena the Y via YouTube. I heard that the Revival are asking for their release and that their biggest frustration is the booking of the tag team division. Considering how they lost on Monday with Michael Cole shout-splaining that they're really just cheating losers and that the Raw Tag Team Champs themselves were the least important team in a segment focused on the reunion of another team that at their prime was a B-level tag team in the late 2000s. Can you blame them? Absolutely not. I can absolutely not blame them whatsoever. The booking of the tag team division, not just recently, but for years in WWE has been abysmal. I know they'll have their moments where they'll wake up one day like, hey, we want to start promoting tag team wrestling. Where like a tag team title match is not main event at a pay-per-view in fucking years. At least as far as I can remember. Maybe some episodes of Raw or SmackDown, but by and large, I know they had the Ambrose, Rollins, McIntyre, Ziggler match, main event Raw, late October. But even then, the tag team titles were a complete afterthought. It was Ambrose turning on Rollins. That was the reason why that match closed the show. So, again, the tag team division being as just awful as it's had been for a while, I do not blame them in the slightest for wanting to leave WWE and wanting to go elsewhere and, just showcase their skills on another platform, whether it be AEW or Ring of Honor or Impact or another company. I completely agree with their justification and their reasoning for wanting to leave. Doesn't look like they're leaving anytime soon, but it is pretty sad that they were, they lost the Raw Tag Team title matches like 3 weeks in a row. The guys are losers. I don't care if they're trying to cheat or what, they're fucking losers. And then, so not only did they lose to Chad and Gable and Rude 3 weeks in a row, they then come out, attack Kurt Hawkins, and then get, attacked after that by Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, who, again, I love, and I'll talk more about them momentarily, but that's pretty sad. If the Ryder and Hawkins reunion eclipses what you're doing with the Revival, that's a fucking problem. So no, I do not blame them. Hopefully they can get the release. I don't think they will, but they would be way better off in any other promotion than they are currently on Raw. Their second question, Elena's second question here. What happened to Braun Strowman between the aborted heel turn, the injuries, and the lukewarm interactions with Brock Lesnar? He's a quote-unquote top star with negative momentum. When did he become the new Bray Wyatt? You're right. He is the new Bray Wyatt. I don't know if he got the stench from when they were together in the Wyatt family. I don't know if he got that from Bray Wyatt when they were together in the Wyatt family, or at whatever point. Maybe they were sharing a locker room, or maybe Braun went to Bray's house and got the stench then. But at some point in the past 6 months, Braun became the new Bray, and that the guy can never win when it matters most. I don't care if he was a Raw Tag Team Champion. I don't care if he, for a fucking day, give me a break. I don't care if he won the greatest Royal Rumble, which meant nothing, by the way. I don't care if he won Money in the Bank, which he also failed to cash in successfully. The guy's a loser. He cannot beat Brock Lesnar. He's always lost whenever it's mattered most. The heel turn was a total waste of time. The guy is as cold as a block of ice. He was as cold as the weather was outside over here in the Northeast the other day when it was below zero. I could not care less about Braun. I like Braun Strowman. No real reason to get invested in him right now. Maybe at some point they'll heat him back up, make him a big deal again. I don't know how. It's going to take some real hard work to get back to Braun being like a big deal. But every single fucking time he's been like on a roll, they've just cut his legs right from out underneath him. Whether it's losing to Brock Lesnar multiple times, not being involved in a marquee match at WrestleMania 2 years in a row, I don't think this year's any different unless he faces Brock in a match I do not have any interest in seeing again. Or whether it's failing to cash in Money in the Bank, turning him heel for no reason. The Kevin Owens feud was dumb too, but at least he was still over. At this point, he's not even over. People do not care for the most part about Braun Strowman. What the fuck? Bray Wyatt's the same way. Just lost potential. Braun could have, and could still be, He's not quite Bray Wyatt level yet. He's not quite to that territory where it's past the point of no return. Bray Wyatt has not been on TV in 5 months, and there's a reason for that. The guy's been healthy the entire time, but he hasn't been on TV because the company could not give two shits about him and has no plans to promote him as a main event star. Nor will they ever. Yes, he was defending the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 2 years ago. He was just holding the belt, keeping it warm for Randy Orton before Orton lost it to Jinder Mahal. What a fucking waste. Anyway, back to Braun. The guy's good. I think the guy is great. But it's gotten to the point where, like you said, the feud with Lesnar has sucked. The heel turn killed any momentum he had late last summer. And then the injuries have also fucked him over big time, too. So I don't know what's going on with Braun right now. I don't know what they need to do to get him back in the right track. But you are absolutely right. He's a top star, but with a lot of negative momentum. I don't care whether it's Balor, even Ambrose, Seth Rollins. Somebody in that Raw side is going to soon eclipse Braun. I mean, Rollins already has. Rollins is far and away the most popular star on that Raw roster. Balor is coming close to surpassing Braun. The guy has been getting great reactions, and he was another guy for a long time that I had no reason to really get invested in. But they built him back up in a very short span of time. They can do the same thing with Braun, but it won't help his cause any if he continues to lose to Brock and to this guy and to that guy, especially whenever it matters most. If you keep jobbing him out to Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, nobody's going to take him seriously. Jared B. from YouTube, do you see any surprise entrants in both of the Royal Rumble matches? I mean, I don't want to beat down a dead horse here, but of course I do. I think someone else asked me about the same thing in another question. Yeah, I think it was Sal. I think it was Sal or maybe John. Or someone asked me about it in another question, so I'll save it. But to answer your question in a nutshell, of course you see surprise entrants in the Rumble matches. I don't think we've had a year in recent years where we win a Rumble without having a surprise entrant. Even if it was like the 2017 Rumble, which I thought was very mediocre, at least they had Ty Dillinger in there. Not really much of a surprise because people expected him to be in there, but it was still cool. Beyond that, not many surprises. Last year, plenty of surprises. They had Ziggler come back, which, who gives a shit? But the Hurricane came back, Adam Cole, Bebe, Rey Mysterio, Andrade Cien Almas. It was awesome. So hopefully we see some more surprise entrants this year in both Rumble matches, and I'll talk about who I want to see in both the men's and women's Rumbles in terms of surprise entrants. And another question coming up. I know I've answered that before, so again, I don't want to beat down a dead horse, but it is a pretty popular question around this time of year. Who do you think is going to enter the Rumble? I don't want to set expectations too high because, again, like I said, there's been years where we get very few surprise entrants, and if we get multiple, some of them are kind of disappointing. I rewatched the 2014 Rumble a few days ago. Don't ask me why. But JBL was in it for like 2 seconds, which was such a waste. El Torito, who gives a fuck, and Kevin Nash for the second time. I don't know why, but he was in there. I like Kevin Nash, but it was really weird and kind of a waste. So again, don't get your hopes up too high, but of course I see surprise entrants being involved in both of the Rumble matches this weekend. As of this recording, I think there's 20 men confirmed for the men's Rumble and 23 women confirmed for the women's Rumble. So there's still plenty of spots open for surprise entrants. At Jeremy8911 from Twitter, could you see these series of matchups between Rey Mysterio and Andrade ending up turning Andrade face and we get an alliance with him and Rey Mysterio? I didn't think about that, but that's not a bad idea. Ray and Andrade in the tag team division could be a lot of fun. I don't see Miz and Shane winning the tag titles. I mean, I guess they could. I think the bar will get them back. I don't think Miz and Shane are long for the tag team division. Let's put it that way. I still have no desire to see Bar and Usos or Bar and New Day again anytime soon. They've run that shit into the ground. We got to move on from that stuff. So if you don't have those teams going for the titles anytime soon, who do you plug in that spot? Gallows and Anderson, they tried to heat back up. I don't know where the fuck they went. Sanity, same thing. Ray and Andrade, if they're not facing each other one-on-one at WrestleMania, them and the Bar would be honestly a really cool match to do for the tag titles at WrestleMania, and I'd be all for that. So hopefully they go in that direction. But if they don't do that, I mean, honestly, again, if they don't do Ray and Andrade one-on-one at WrestleMania, because they had that great match on Tuesday, the 2 out of 3 Falls match, which I just got finished watching a few hours ago. I had to miss SmackDown last night due to work, but caught up on it this morning. It was an awesome match. It did end in DQ, though, which to me means they want to protect both guys and revisit this rivalry at some point, whether it be in time for Chamber, Fastlane, or hopefully WrestleMania. That's what I would do. But again, if they're not going to be feuding, I feel Andrade's going to be lost in the shuffle as he has been for the better part of the past year. I want him to beat Rusev for the U.S. Championship. But even if that's not an option, I'd rather have him teaming with Rey than losing to AJ Styles and Mustafa Ali every single week, which he was doing for a while. So I'd rather have him in a tag team with Rey than on his own as a heel and him not doing anything. Thoughts on Hawkins and Ryder reuniting? I mentioned it earlier before, but I think it's a great idea. Hawkins obviously has had this losing streak going for well over 2 years now, which is pretty impressive. And Ryder has not been on TV in a regular role in years. Like, he's been a mainstay on Main Event for a while, since he moved over to Raw in the last Superstar shakeup. Before that, he was with the Hype Bros, which was, fun while it lasted for the 2.5 years that they teamed for. But I thought it was time for them to break up, and now Ryder, he's a tag team specialist. He's had tag team partners in the past from, Mojo Rawley, Kurt Hawkins, even Primo for a time. Ryder is not going to be doing anything on his own. I know he won the IC Championship for a fucking night a few years ago. That's not happening ever again. Him and Hawkins, I think, is a great idea. The Raw Tag Team division needs all the help it can get. Roode and Gable are painfully bland. AOP is out injured. Hardy and Wyatt, I don't even know if they're going to come back as a tag team. The Revival are losers. Slater and Rhino are losers. The Lucha House Party's a joke. The Singh Brothers are a joke, if you can even call them a tag team. Who else is there? The Ascension, they're a joke. So, yeah, they need more tag teams. Hawkins and Ryder, yeah, they're losers, but it's something different. They're doing what is it called? The Major Wrestling Figure Podcast anyway together. So you might as well plug them back together on TV. Have some fun. Give them something to do. Ryder deserves to be on Raw. For as long as the guy's been under contract to the company, just put him on Raw, for God's sakes. Even if he's not winning matches, who gives a shit? Maybe this will finally lead to Hawkins winning a match, and maybe you can kind of build them up. I'd rather see them going for the titles than the fucking B team, who I forgot even existed until I mentioned them right now. We've not seen the B team on Raw in like 6 or 7 months. What was the point of them as Raw Tag Team Champions? I would much rather see Hawkins and Ryder getting a similar storyline where they're built up to become, the Raw Tag Team Champions and people rallying behind Hawkins and Ryder. They got a good reaction on Monday. Why not go in that direction? Roode and Gable, they're not doing anything with the tag titles anyway, so I see no reason to not do that. Jeremy's third question here. With Alexa Bliss having pretty much feuded with every major face, could you see them turning her face and possibly feuding with Lacey Evans? That seemed to be what they were hinting at on Monday's Raw. I thought that was cool. The whole Moment of Bliss thing was a total waste of time, but it was worthwhile for Bliss announcing she's back in the ring on Sunday for the first time since September? And the Lacey Evans Raw official debut. I know she was on Raw last week, but in a backstage segment. I'm talking in front of the crowd. So it's cool to see Lacey. She's going to be in the Women's Rumble. I don't see her winning, of course, but, Bliss and Lacey Evans feud, I have no problem with that. They have a lot of top faces on Raw right now with the women. They can't really turn her face right now. Maybe if they moved someone to SmackDown. So, right now they have Banks, Bayley, Ember Moon, Ronda Rousey, and Natalya. That's a lot of baby faces, and a lot of those women are high-profile superstars in that women's division. So there's no way Alexa Bliss is turning babyface anytime soon. But it's something different. Like you said, she's feuded with everybody. She's feuded with Ronda. She feuded with Bayley. God, let's not revisit that. Sasha Banks quite a bit in 2017. Not really Ember Moon. Not really Natalya. I don't care about an Alexa Bliss and Natalya feud, but Alexa Bliss and Ember Moon, I don't see any reason to not do that type of feud. I think that'd be great for Ember. It would give her something to do. But yeah, beyond that, she's feuded with everyone, every babyface in that Raw division, including her own tag team partner, Mickie James. So unless they move her back to SmackDown in the next Superstar shakeup, turning her face would not be a horrible idea at all. And it could work. People want to cheer Alexa. She is great at what she does. Not the most amazing in-ring competitor, mind you, but I think she could do a good job. She's a natural heel, but a lot like The Miz, who I've also said could work as a babyface, and we saw that on SmackDown this week. Alexa Bliss is, she's a dastardly heel, but I think if she wanted to be likable, and not like the NXT tutu wearing Alexa Bliss, not that Alexa Bliss, but if she wanted to be likable as a babyface, I think she could be, especially if she was positioned against the right people. And she's already feuded with Nia Jax, too. So, again, maybe I think the answer is trading her to SmackDown. if they don't turn her face. Maybe they could trade her to SmackDown and then turn her face, a lot like Charlotte a few years ago. That's a feud we've never seen. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte, or Alexa Bliss and... Or we've seen her and Naomi, we've seen her and Becky Lynch. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, no, Alexa Bliss and Lacey Evans would be a good way to get Lacey Evans off to a solid start on the main roster if they do indeed go in that direction post-Royal Rumble. At Joe Burgett _WE from Twitter, his question was, why is it that someone like Daniel Bryan is made into the villain when he is actually speaking more truth than lies? I mean, this is nothing new. With heels, it's not what they're saying, because they're almost always more logical than the baby faces or anyone else in the company. There always is a hint of truth, not just a hint, but like a lot of truth to what they're saying. I think it's how they portray themselves and present themselves and how they carry themselves is what makes them a heel. Like Daniel Bryan, he makes a lot of good points about the environment and this and that and the baby boomer generation when he was directing those comments at Vince McMahon on SmackDown. Like, what the hell was that? But I thought it was entertaining. It was the fact that he came off as disrespectful, attacking AJ, cheating to win sometimes, ambushing people backstage. That's what makes him the heel. Not exactly what he's saying, because I think the villains, in their own mind, no matter what, always think they're right, and that's what makes for the best bad guys. But, like you said, he is speaking a lot of truth. A lot of heels speak the truth, but it's how they carry themselves is what makes them the heel. So I see what you're getting at, but I think that's kind of always been the case with most heels in wrestling. His second question, if Kenny Omega did sign with WWE, how would you use him immediately, and how would WWE likely use him? If he was to sign with WWE, which again I don't think is happening, not to say it's not going to, because there's a good chance it could. I don't think it will happen. But how would I use him immediately? Again, he's not winning the Rumble. That would be awesome, because his New Japan contract does not expire until the end of the month. If he was to come in after the Rumble in time for, February, let's say, I would plug him into a top match at WrestleMania, and immediately from the get-go, the guy would be positioned as a top star. He would have to be. For the amount of money they would be paying Omega to come into WWE, he would have to be booked like a top star, like an AJ Styles level star. If he's not the guy, he should be close to being the guy. There's no real the guy anymore, but I say that because they positioned Roman Reigns as that person for a long time. Now that he's no longer there really doesn't need to be a guy, because there's not one person selling tickets. It's really WWE, the brand on the whole, that's selling tickets, but that's a whole other discussion for another day. But with Omega, if he was to come in, Omega and Bryan or Omega and Styles for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania, and then he wins. That's what I would do. And it's not a matter of a slow build. The guy's a big fucking star. AJ, yeah, he had a slower build. He wasn't in the title match at WrestleMania. I don't know. I feel like with Omega, it's a different story. They could have done that with Styles and it could have worked. Let's be honest. Triple H and Roman Reigns sucked at WrestleMania. If they had Roman as champion and done the feud with AJ and Roman that they did in the spring, if they did that at WrestleMania instead, it wouldn't have mattered. The guy still would have gotten over the same way that he did. So, with Kenny Omega, I would immediately plug him into the main event scene and have him become champion soon after. The guy's a big star, so why not treat him like one? That's my opinion. How would WWE likely use him? Again, they would probably have to push him. Not have to push him, but I would imagine for the amount of money they'd be paying him, if he's not a top star, he'd still be a big star. AJ, they paid a lot of money to come into WWE. The guy was not world champion within a week. But he got to that point eventually, and he was a pretty high-level mid-carder before he became WWE champion later on in 2016. So again, with Omega, he would have to be in a similar spot where he's feuding with a John Cena, or feuding with, a Daniel Bryan, or an AJ Styles, or a Seth Rollins, right off the bat to establish him as a top-tier talent, because if you don't, it's a waste. At the Wrestle Guy from Twitter, his question was, we will be going on 15 years since someone has won from the number one spot in the Royal Rumble. Why do you feel it's been so long, and do you believe this is the year we should finally have someone win from the number one spot again? I think it's been so long just because, realistically speaking, you should not be winning from number one. It's a cool narrative to do every once in a while. The last person to do it before, Benoit, I think you're referring to, was Shawn Michaels. And Dude, like that was in 95. That was 9 years earlier. You can't do it every year. You can't do it every few years. That's something you have to pull out of the bag once every 10 to 15 years. Because if you do it so often, it's not that impressive anymore. So this could be the year, though. I think there's a good chance Rollins comes in at number 1 and wins it all from number 1. After earning the reputation for being like the Iron Man in that gauntlet match about a year ago, there's a decent chance he comes in at 1 or 2 and wins the whole thing from there, if not number 3. I think that'd be a great idea. But I think it's been so long because you can't do it too often. You can't. It's like Rollins cashing in mid-match. If you did it so often, then it wouldn't be as special. So I think 15 years is a long time, and if there was any year to do it, have someone win from number 1, I think it'd be this year, especially if it's Seth Rollins winning the Royal Rumble. His second question: what are some surprises you would like to see in both the men's and women's Rumbles, whether it be returns, NXT superstars, or one-night-only entrants? Again, I've answered this question at least 2 or 3 times in recent weeks, so this is nothing new. For the women, I think I said Eve Torres. AJ Lee would always be an awesome surprise. I just don't say her because it's unlikely, a lot like a CM Punk or something like that. I wrote Scott Steiner down here just because I've always selfishly wanted to see Scott Steiner, if only for one night in WWE. I know that's not happening. He's on better terms now with Impact than he is WWE. I think he turned down a Legends contract a few years ago, a Legends deal or whatever it's called. He's not coming back, especially not for a Rumble return. He has no interest. Unless the money was really, really right, and I doubt Vince is coughing up thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars for fucking Scott Steiner to come back to the company, then the odds of him being in the Rumble are slim to none. Realistically speaking, again, for the women, and Eve Torres, which I think is possible, Layla would be nice. Caitlyn, after the run that she had in the Mae Young Classic, would be cool. Maybe that leads to a full-time return for her. You know, I always said Awesome Kong after the one-off Rumble return she had in 2012. She's not, does she even wrestle anymore? Like, I know she's been a mom for a few years now. She looks incredibly different, so that might not even be on the table. Gail Kim would be cool. I don't know how many people would care. She's currently in Impact, so it doesn't matter anyway. Those are a few people for the women. For the women, I really don't have as many people as I do for the men. For the men, like I've said before, Matt Hardy, I think, has a lock to come back on Sunday. Bray Wyatt could be close to a lock. If he doesn't come back on Sunday, the guy's not coming back until after WrestleMania. That's just a fact. So, Matt Hardy, Bray Wyatt. From NXT, I've said Aleister Black. I don't know, for some reason in the last couple days, I've really wanted to see Velveteen Dream in the Rumble. He's not a TakeOver Phoenix on Saturday, so why not put him in the Rumble? But fuck it, we had Adam Cole and Andrade in 2 of the best matches at TakeOver Philly last year, and they were both in the Rumble. So there's no excuse to not put Velveteen Dream in the Rumble for one night. People know he's a star. He'd get a huge reaction. Seeing him mix it up with the top tier stars on today's roster, John Cena may not be in the Rumble, but like a few other people, I think it'd be really cool to see Dream in the Rumble, if only for one night, to see what type of reaction it gets, and to see what type of a showing he has. So Velveteen Dream, Aleister Black, Batista, I think he's on his way back soon anyway. It's more a matter of when than if. If the match with Triple H comes to fruition, then Batista and Triple H at WrestleMania. I don't know if you bring him back now, but if he doesn't come back now, then how else would he be brought back? So Batista would be cool, especially coming off 5 years of when he won the Rumble the last time. Maybe people poop all over him this time, but I think it would be a different reaction, to be honest with you. And finally, from 205 Live, just to throw a cruiserweight in there, I know Jack Gallagher was in it a few years ago. I would throw Cedric Alexander in there. The guy is great. He's kind of done everything there is to do on 205 Live. Cruiserweight champion for a long time. He's not in the 4-way at the Rumble. Put him in the Rumble. I would put him in the Rumble match, and that kind of kicks off a new stint for him as a heavyweight on either Raw or SmackDown, like Mustafa Ali on SmackDown. Why can't you do the same thing with Alexander on SmackDown or even on Raw? SmackDown would be better, but if you want to split up the cruiserweights a little more, put him on Raw. But if there's anyone that's ready to move up from 205 Live to the quote-unquote like main roster, the grand stage, it would be Cedric Alexander. At Brett Veresic 94, where has Jeff Hardy been, and could Jeff Hardy versus Rey Mysterio be a good match to open up WrestleMania? I don't know. I mean, I guess they just haven't had anything for him. The weird thing is that he's in the Rumble match. It's already been announced that he's in the men's Rumble. He announced it a few weeks ago at a live event, like in a fucking WWE Twitter page video. So he's in the Rumble match, but we haven't seen him on SmackDown in like 3 or 4 weeks. I don't think we've seen him on SmackDown since he lost to Samoa Joe, like on Christmas or on the New Year's Day edition of SmackDown. That was like a month ago. So I don't know where Jeff Hardy's been. They probably just didn't have anything for him because the feud with Joe wrapped up. But he will be in the Rumble on Sunday, his first Rumble in a long time. Alexis was asking me that the other day, like, when was the last Royal Rumble that Jeff Hardy was in? Well, he wasn't in it last year. He was hurt. He didn't come back in time for the Rumble in 2017. So before that would have been 09, which that's where he contended for the WWE Championship and lost it to Edge at the Rumble 09, so 10 years ago. 11 years ago in 08, he faced Randy Orton at the Rumble in 08. I think he was in a tag team match in the Rumble 07 at the Royal Rumble 2007 pay-per-view. I don't know if he was in the Rumble itself. I know he and Matt faced Eminem. 06, he wasn't back yet. 05, he wasn't in the company. 04, he wasn't in the company. He was in the company in 03. I know he was in the 03 Rumble. I think he was in the 07 Rumble too. Case in point, it's been a long time since Hardy was in the Rumble, so I'm looking forward to it. Hardy and Ray Ray one-on-one, I'm sure it would be a great match. I don't think we've ever either seen that match before or it's never been a feud before. Either way, it would be cool to see. Kind of random for WrestleMania. I really don't have any desire to see Jeff and Ray, two guys from like the old guard, facing each other at WrestleMania. But, I wouldn't complain. But I would rather see Ray and Andrade again at WrestleMania than Hardy and Ray. Just because Hardy and Ray, it's two baby faces. It would be a great match, but that kind of feels like 2003 to me. I'd rather see Hardy versus Mustafa Ali or Ray versus Andrade to open up WrestleMania. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine, his first question was, also, John, I got to mention this. I am so jealous of you. I know you hate the Young Bucks. I know you hate the Young Bucks with a passion, but I thought it was so cool they showed up at that Defy Wrestling show that you went to, that indie show you went to last week. I saw the footage. I saw the clips. I knew you were going there, and I woke up the next day and I saw they showed up. That's awesome. Anyway, John's first question was, is there any chance WWE swerves us and has a person come from nowhere to win the Rumble, meaning someone we wouldn't expect? And if so, then who could you see being that person for each Rumble? For the women, I don't see that happening. If it's not Becky or Charlotte, maybe like a Nia Jax, which would be terrible. I don't see that happening, though, thank God. If I had to pick someone for the women other than Charlotte or Becky, it would probably be Ember Moon. Ember Moon and Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Championship would be awesome at WrestleMania. I don't think they would do it, but it would be awesome. If it's not Ember Moon, no one else in that field, let's be honest, makes any sense. The Iconics, no thanks. Mandy Rose, I saw someone say, I think it was like some athlete at the WWE Performance Center. You know what? Anything's possible. If they really want to thrust her into the spotlight, Mandy Rose can win. Naomi, I feel like we've been there, done that with her. Zelina Vega, definitely not. Dana Brooke, definitely not. Alicia Fox, definitely not. Tamina, definitely not. There's a lot of people that won't be. Nikki Cross and Lacey Evans are dark horses. Again, I see no reason why they should win the Rumble. They're both good, but it's way too early. But if you want to go with someone like shocking or unexpected, they just debuted on the main roster. Why not them? Lacey Evans winning the Women's Rumble in her debut would be a pretty big deal. I don't think she's ready for it, but if you want to go with someone shocking, it would be Lacey Evans or Nikki Cross. For the men, I might have mentioned this a few weeks ago. I know I've said this on Wrestle Rant Radio before, but Aleister Black. That's someone that no one is either talking about or thinking about. I know he's in the main of TakeOver Phoenix on Saturday. I don't think he's getting called up full-time anytime soon unless he wins the Rumble. There's just no spot for him on the WrestleMania card if he doesn't win the Rumble. Just call him up the night after WrestleMania on Raw or 2 nights later on SmackDown after WrestleMania if you want to do that. Which it's only inevitable. The guy's done everything in NXT. He went undefeated for like a year and a half. He's already been NXT champion. He won't and shouldn't get the belt back from Ciampa on Saturday. Have him come right back around on Sunday and win the Rumble. Him and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania would be fucking awesome. Him and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania would be also awesome, in my opinion. It's not happening. But people were pitching that last year. Oh, Aleister Black to win the Rumble. I didn't agree with that. I didn't think it would happen. Obviously, it didn't happen, nor should it have happened. It was way too early for Black to come up to the main roster. Now it's time. If you want to make a big splash, we've never had someone debut and win the Rumble. Aleister Black's your guy. John's second question, who do you think is more likely to become WWE or Universal Champion out of these four? Mustafa Ali, Andrade, Keith Lee, or Matt Riddle? That's a good question. I know you said to me a few weeks ago that you asked me if Ali would be a WWE champion on SmackDown. I don't see it. I really don't. I mean, they can book anyone to be world champion. Fucking Jinder Mahal was a WWE champion. It doesn't matter who it is. They could become champion, but like you said, how likely is it of these four who could become champion? Ali, I think, is the least likeliest. Andrade is great. I don't ever see them putting the top championship on him, but the guy is worthy. The guy had a nice run as NXT champion. No reason they can't do the same thing with WWE or Universal Championship. Keith Lee, I think, is great. I don't think he's world champion material, just not yet. He doesn't have that personality yet, but the guy's great in the ring. He's got great size. He has everything that Vince would want out of a top superstar. He just, to me, does not scream world champion. He screams world champion to me in the same way that Apollo Crews does, where if they pushed him the right way, he could become a world champion, but most likely he's going to be like mid-card fodder on Raw or SmackDown, which hopefully doesn't happen, but that's my fear. So, at a process of elimination, that leaves Matt Riddle, who I think is going to be a world champion anyway. The guy's awesome. They obviously brought him in with a lot of fanfare, a lot of buzz. He's a great talent. The guy can speak. He has charisma for days. He can wrestle, obviously. He's got that UFC background. It just makes sense. Matt Riddle and the WWE title, it's just a pairing that makes sense. So of those four, Matt Riddle, absolutely WWE champion bound. With Alexa Bliss cleared, do you think they'll make her champion again before or by SummerSlam? I don't think so. With Ronda Rousey on Raw, Becky Lynch probably joining Raw in the next Superstar shakeup, there's no reason to go back to Bliss as champion. I like Bliss. She's been champion, 4 or 5 times between Raw and SmackDown. There's no reason to go back to her as a championship, either challenger or championship holder anytime soon. Again, like we established earlier, there's no one for her to feud with anyway. So why would you put the belt back on her if she has no one to lose it to? Like no fresh faces to beat or to lose it to, because she's beaten everybody. So no, unless she goes to SmackDown, but even then I don't see her becoming champion, nor should she. You know what? Sasha Banks has been fucking in the doldrums of the Raw Women's Division for years. People can say all they want about Sasha. She's been shoved down her throat, which to an extent was true a few years ago. But Sasha Banks has not been a staple of the Raw Women's Championship picture for years. Alexa Bliss, I like her a lot, but she's been at the forefront of that division really up until she got hurt late last year. So with Alexa Bliss, she's good. Maybe at some point down the road. Sasha Banks has not sniffed the championship in like 2 or 3 years. Yeah, she held it for a cup of coffee in 2017, but beyond that, she's never really gotten a real run with either championship, the Raw or SmackDown Women's title. So, she's a prime example of someone that, yeah, she's a top star, but she hasn't been in the title mix in a long time. Alexa Bliss could benefit from being out of the title picture for the foreseeable future. Final question from Lex DeGiacomo, the beautiful, the one and only girlfriend of mine, Lexus. Her question was, when am I getting a Wrestle Rant t-shirt, and when can I design some cool versions of it? Well, listen, honey, I don't care if you're my girlfriend, anyone. I don't care if you're a family member. I don't care if you're my girlfriend, spouse. It doesn't matter. I don't give a shit who you are. You don't get a Wrestle Rant radio t-shirt for free. You don't. Mr. Marceau, he saw the prototypes of the Wrestle Rant radio t-shirts a few years ago. He didn't get one. You know how Mr. Marceau earned one? He did it by winning the Royal Rumble game, which leads me into a perfect plug to close out the episode here. Tonight, as I record this, Wednesday, January 23rd, 2019, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Jump on your laptops, your phones, your cellular devices, whatever gets you fucking internet, okay? Go on there. Go to nextairwrestling.net. Go to the link in the middle of, under the slideshow, under the main page there. It says Royal Rumble Game Details, 2019 Royal Rumble Game Details. If you're not familiar with the Royal Rumble game, shame on you. I've been doing it now for 6 or 7 years, dating back to 2013. That's how long we've been doing this. It's the 7th consecutive Rumble game I've done, which is a lot. But only in recent years have we given out prizes. The last 3 winners of the game. So 2016, Mr. Marceau won a Wrestle Rant Radio t-shirt. Sal won a Wrestle Rant Radio t-shirt in 2017. Last year, I added a new stipulation where, so in a nutshell, this is what you do. This year, you can sign up for one spot in the Women's Rumble and the Men's Rumble. No 2 people to one spot. But you can have it's going to be 30 total entrants, including myself. If I myself win, then I give it to the runner-up, whatever. I don't think I'm winning anyway. I never win. But here's the thing. You could sign up for a spot in both the men's and women's. I would prefer you sign up for both, not just one, just to make it even. I like to have a solid 30 people, but it may not work out that way. The comment section of the post is going to open up at 9 p.m. tonight. I should be back in time. I should be home to do it. You drop a comment on the post with your name, your Twitter handle, and if you're not on Twitter, then an email address where I can contact you, and what number you want in both the men's and women's. You want number 1 for both? That's fine. You just have to specify which number is for which Rumble. And again, no 2 people to 1 number. We can have the same people in both polls, but you can't have 2 people in the same poll, if that makes sense. Not poll, but pool, my bad. No, I keep on saying poll. Anyway, so the winners of the men's and women's Rumbles, if you get the person who wins, for example, if you have Becky Lynch, she comes out at 29. You have the number 29. Becky Lynch comes out at 29. She's your new favorite wrestler for the next year. Obviously, not officially. It's just a fun game to play along with, okay? It's not official. But then after that, so if Becky Lynch wins, you had 29. Becky Lynch wins the Rumble. You have a choice of either getting a Wrestle Rant Radio t-shirt or getting Becky Lynch's t-shirt. Obviously, you would go with Becky's shirt. I wouldn't blame you. You have an option. Obviously, you would probably go with the Superstar shirt of who won the Rumble last year. Asuka won the Rumble. The winner of the Women's Rumble in my game won an Asuka t-shirt. The winner of the Men's Rumble won a Shinsuke Nakamura t-shirt, and they get to pick out what shirt it is on WWE Shop. That's the prize. If it's someone who doesn't have a t-shirt, which is very hard to believe, let's say I was going to say Lacey Evans, but I'm pretty sure she has a t-shirt too. If Lacey Evans won the Rumble and she doesn't have a t-shirt, you get a Wrestle Rant Radio t-shirt automatically. So, Alexis, you're going to have to sign up tonight. No exceptions. Write your comment down on the post of the Royal Rumble game on the website with your name, your number, and your Twitter handle. And if you don't have a Twitter handle, use your email. I need to find some way to contact you if you win. And you will be sent the t-shirt as soon as the Rumble is over and you win the game. So that's going down tonight, people. If you're listening to this after Wednesday night, I'm sure spots are still open. So jump on it, check it out. Wednesday night, tonight, immediately following NXT, nextEraWrestling.net. Check out the post, enter the game to potentially win a WWE Shop t-shirt or a Wrestle Rant Radio t-shirt. Eat, sleep, Wrestle Rant, repeat. It could be yours today if you win the 2019 Royal Rumble game. So anyway, guys, with all that being said, thank you guys for sending in the questions as always. I appreciate the support. We'll be back next Wednesday with a post-Royal Rumble edition, the follow-up to the Epic event. So stay tuned for that. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Twitter, or rather on Facebook as well, at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And to be honest, I've been slipping a little bit lately. I've been kind of messing up a bit just because I've been at work the last couple Tuesdays, so I keep on forgetting to put up the questions. So, which, by the way, I should mention this. I forgot to put up the post to ask people for their questions. On Facebook, I waited until like 10:30. Twitter, the same thing. I still got a lot of questions this week. So for those of you that are up at 10:30 Eastern time every Tuesday, thank God for you guys. You can still send in the questions by like 9 or 10 on Wednesday. That's fine. Today I'm recording late just because I've been fucking busy as hell today. But anyway, you could do that. You could do Facebook. You could do Twitter, whatever. There's also YouTube. Drop your question down below in the comment section of this very video. I'll be sure to include it in next week's edition. With all that being said, guys, enjoy Royal Rumble weekend. I can't wait for it. I'm definitely watching TakeOver live. Rumble, I'm gonna try to. I think I'm working. I'm working on Sunday, so I got to figure out something. But I haven't missed a Rumble yet. I was at the Rumble last year. The Rumble was the first ever WWE pay-per-view I ordered. Not even WrestleMania. I think I watched WrestleMania 26 at John's house, my friend John's house. Not John Ritland, my other friend John. Royal Rumble 2010 was the first ever pay-per-view I ordered. And every Rumble since then has been awesome, for the most part. By and large. Not every show, but it's one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year. Cannot wait for it. Enjoy the weekend, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.